Now, I'm going to do a bit of double duty with this video and cover two things that a lot of people have been bringing up or asking or talking about, and I might run off on a tangent or two, so do be warned in advance. The first being some recent remarks that Daisy Ridley made about people who criticized The Last Jedi, and the second will be a closer look at the Sith Trooper and some things we've officially learned about them now. Anyway, starting with Daisy Ridley. As some of you know, not long ago, I made a video praising her after she essentially said that it was okay to not like The Last Jedi, and that she thought criticism of the movie was fair. And as far as I'm aware, she was the first person directly involved with the film, and the only one that has said anything like that. With Lucasfilm and Disney itself being completely silent on the matter in any sort of official capacity, and with many others, including Rian Johnson, the writer and director of the film itself, engaging in Twitter battles and making other public comments, attacking those who attacked his film and calling them such things as man-babies. Well, now it seems that Daisy Ridley has clarified or walked back her initial comments a bit in a recent interview with Bustle, and because I couldn't find a transcript or video of the whole interview, and instead only have a few excerpts from it, here are 3 quotes from her that are, mind you, taken completely out of context. And first of all, she said that it's great that people are expressive of their views, but this is people's jobs. People worked really, really hard on that thing. Next, she said, I think there's a way of having a discussion that isn't so vicious. And finally, she said, I was at my friend's birthday, and one of her friends, who I barely know, was like, hey, I really liked the first Star Wars, didn't like the second one. And I thought, that's rude, dude, that's my job. Okay, so there's a couple different things to touch on here. But first of all, I do agree with her that there are, of course, ways of having discussions that aren't so vicious. And usually discussions of that nature do tend to accomplish more. And it's one of the reasons why I try to be rather calm and rational in my videos. Nevertheless, no matter how I try to present my arguments or ideas, I still get those who call me hateful, negative, or toxic. And guess what? That's okay. If you don't like me or my videos and you think I'm a horrible person, then alright, I understand, and it's your prerogative and certainly your right to feel that way and express it. You can leave nasty comments about me if you want, and generally, I don't delete them unless they're overly profane because I'm all about people saying whatever they want, even if it's seen by some as negative or toxic. Because the thing is, silencing someone is not the same thing as changing their mind. Or in other words, not allowing them to express their opinions doesn't mean they no longer hold that opinion. So when you try to begin and end an argument by calling someone toxic, when you try to shut them down with that word and dismiss everything they say, you're only reinforcing those beliefs in that person, and at the same time making yourself sound insecure about your own beliefs because you know no other way to defend them other than by trying to silence those who disagree. And I find it so funny how in the modern world we promote every type of diversity except for diversity of opinion. Anyway, that's the long way of saying I agree with Daisy Ridley about the part where she says that we don't need to be so vicious. But at the same time, we don't have to get so worked up about what other people think and say. After all, something is only toxic to you if you ingest it and let it get to you. However, I have to respectfully disagree with her about the rest of what she said, that just because something is your job and you worked really, really hard on it, doesn't mean it's both good and free from criticism. A lot of the cast and crew from Game of Thrones, for example, said something similar during the Season 8 backlash, that they thought it was rude of some fans to demand that Season 8 be remade after they worked so hard on it. And look, no one is denying the hard work. For both Game of Thrones and The Last Jedi, very few fans out there were upset about such things as the visuals or the acting or anything of that nature. It's the story itself that people were upset about in both cases. They're upset that you worked so hard on something so poorly thought out by those at the top who were writing and directing it. They think all your hard work and incredible talent was wasted on a story that didn't live up to the effort you all put into it. That said, welcome to the real world, where people criticize you and the job you do or have all the damn time, no matter how much you may or may not put into it. I worked in a restaurant for a good portion of my life, and in most cases, everybody is working extremely hard to give the customers a good all-around experience, from the food to the service to the atmosphere. And sometimes as a cook, which I was, you can put out what you think is the perfect plate of food, and it still comes back with a complaint, and you have to remake it and satisfy that customer. Or as a server, you can go above and beyond. You can be on the ball with everything and treat a customer like absolute royalty, and end up getting stiffed or getting a small tip. And if you think restaurants are rough, well, try working in retail for a day. And what about pro athletes? Few professions out there are more under the microscope than they are, and they oftentimes get ruthlessly criticized by fans and sports journalists alike, despite the immense amount of work it takes for them to get to the top. Sure, sometimes they'll snap back at fans or journalists, but most of the time they'll take it in stride because it's just part of the deal. If you're going to do a job with that big of a spotlight on you, and you're going to get paid that kind of money, then expect to take some heat from time to time. And if you don't like it, you can always do something else with your life. Or you can be thankful that you made it. How many others out there would love to be where Daisy Ridley is right now and have worked their asses off their whole lives to get there, but they didn't make it? And look, I have nothing against her at all, nor do I condone people being needlessly vicious or hostile towards each other. And I do understand defending your work and taking pride in what you do. And as goes along with the other part of her comment and what I had to say about it, she's absolutely free to say and think whatever she wants. Just like I'm free to think that we worked hard on it is a terrible excuse to defend something. Okay, let's switch gears a bit and move on to Sith Troopers, the new trooper type that was recently unveiled and will be appearing in The Rise of Skywalker. Well, apparently they're being featured rather prominently at San Diego Comic-Con right now, and we've learned a bit more about them, including some things that J.J. Abrams himself had to say, though it's not much and I'll get to it in just a moment. First, though, it seems like we have a few new descriptions of them, starting with this one that comes to us from Comic-Con, where it is said of them that in its ultimate push towards galactic conquest, the First Order readies an army of elite soldiers that draw inspiration and power from a dark and ancient legacy. And of course, I think a lot of people's first question after hearing that is going to be, didn't Kylo Ren want the past to die, including the Sith? And look, as I've said before, the only reason I can think of putting so much emphasis on a new trooper type of all things, and why we had it spoiled in a teaser trailer that Palpatine is coming back, is because they really want to let us fans know just how much they're trying to fix things and to insist there's a hell of a story left to be told in the final episode, and one that will include the Sith. And come on, don't try and tell me now that it was their plan all along to give us two movies where we all but ignore the Sith and say that Snoke and Kylo Ren are something different, and have Kylo himself proclaim their way should end forever, only to bring them back so heavily for the last movie. You cannot sell me that Rian Johnson in any way, shape, or form was trying to set up the return of Palpatine and the Sith with The Last Jedi. I simply will not buy that. His idea, as far as I can tell anyway, was to imply that Kylo Ren would rise to something truly great and terrifying in the last movie, that he would become what Luke saw in that vision that caused him to lose it and almost kill his nephew. Problem is, I don't think a lot of the fans were buying that Kylo Ren could or would become that, especially after his inability to ever score any type of victory over Rey in either of the first two films. So anyway, the official Star Wars website describes the Sith Troopers this way, that the crimson armor blends elements of troopers from the past while incorporating aggressive new details. And yeah, I can certainly see the inspiration of past troopers in the design here, since by and large it looks like a First Order stormtrooper that's just been painted red. And with a few different sharper angles here and there, I guess, though you don't notice that unless you actually take a closer look, and I'm sure most people will not notice. And look, I can't help but feel like the way they're trying to describe this or sell it is the same way a car company will try and sell you on a slightly sportier version of what's an otherwise standard mid-size family sedan. You know, when they basically put a spoiler and some rims on a car and try to convince you it's a real sports car now. Anyway, Abrams said of the Sith Troopers that they just felt absolutely right and that he can't wait for the audience to see the work done by everyone in making the film. And I'm sorry here, and I really don't try to be purposely negative in my videos despite what some of you think. I really don't. But come on, these are just red stormtroopers, and they're hyping them up so much that they better end up being something like clones infused with the DNA of Darth Vader and Palpatine. And yeah, I'm being mostly serious here. They better do something big with these troopers. They better be something truly special, because let's not forget that we were already told of standard First Order stormtroopers that they were elite compared to their Imperial predecessors, that they've been trained and conditioned basically from birth to be the ultimate fighting machine, that they even trained to fight Jedi. So what makes these Sith Troopers a step above all of that? And if they end up just being quote-unquote even better trained than other troopers or specialized to do this or that certain job, then they can keep them, because that's what you tried to sell us originally with these First Order stormtroopers, that they were going to be elite. So, only half jokingly here, I want these guys to be clones that have some genuine Sith DNA in them. I want them to do something cool. I want them to be actual Sith Troopers, and maybe then I can forgive the fact that they just look like red stormtroopers. Well, that's all I've got for this time. Now it's your turn to tell me what you think about Daisy Ridley's newest comments, and what you think about Sith Troopers. Do you think they'll end up being something cool, or are they just red stormtroopers? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.